for us to have our
Lordy, Lordy.
podcast. You know what I mean? We'll have our own little gray cups, our own little gray mugs, and our gray wall, and our gray door, and our gray background, and our gray hat.
Just like a fucking wife. Hey, let's get it. Hey, what's going on? What's up?
One of these days, DMX is gonna come for you, brother.
I hope he comes for me.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition to the Gray Pill Podcast. As always, Angelus, you have my wifey Mika. As always, special shout out to Primal Studies. You check him out his YouTube channel. And last but not least, my brother from another mother, Deuce. What's going on, Deuce?
What's going on?
Hey, so I got a reaction that we're gonna talk about and discuss about Whoopi Goldberg and see what's going on with her today, because apparently she said some allegations or made some construed comments or her thoughts and belief on the Jewish community and the Holocaust. So we're gonna check that out. All right, everybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I perceive it, and if I'm ignorant, correct me if I'm wrong. But when I hear racist, I hear, white and black, or Native American and white. Like I'm separating the two actual colors, then I'm separating the color with the race. Um, that's how I'm seeing it. Do you have a different opinion on that?
Yeah, so people usually get like prejudice and racism confused, right? Racism
Mhm.
is the belief that one race is inherently better than the other.
Mhm.
It's as simple as that. So when I agree with her in a sense because what is your like perception of race? And like she's just saying like okay, like are we really? She's not like saying it wasn't a horrible thing. She's not saying it was. It was. She's not denying anything. She's just saying it was more of a human versus human thing, and
Yeah.
comparing like how cruel a one human being can be to another human being. Because when people think of race, like oh well, they were able to treat black people terrible because they obviously look different than them. And she's saying okay, well you can't really differentiate Jewish people from like Germans and Jews, right? That's
Mhm.
why they had to wear a star on their stuff to identify them, right? Because they still look like it's a white person, right?
Mhm.
Uh, whether they had black hair, whether they had brown hair, auburn hair, whatever. So they had to have something to identify them with. Black people didn't have to wear anything; we wore our skin.
Yeah.
So it's like the that's where the real cruelty is because you can do some cruel stuff to somebody who really is almost indistinguishable from you. I get what she was saying. I don't understand why everybody's getting so mad.
Excuse me. Any words? Oh, what's your thought on the primal?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what she's saying because I think that's kind of the generally speaking American current dialogue about what race is. To I would say to many Americans nowadays, race is, hey, are you white? Are you black? Are you Hispanic?
Yeah.
Whatever. That's their current understanding of what race is. But if you look into it kind of deeply, and I just pulled this up, and again, this is Wikipedia, so take the source for what it is. But a race is a categorization of humans based on shared physical or social qualities into groups generally viewed as distinct within a given society. So could that be a certain religious group potentially, like
Yeah, because that sound like but that sound like very wide, broad. It's not even trying to.
But it is.
But to them, being Jewish could be a race, right? So I don't think she came from a malicious point at all. I don't think she was trying to be anti-Semitic or anything like that. I think this was her perception, her understanding of what race meant to her. And then other people, maybe race meant something different to them, and there's that misunderstanding, right? And that's where the anger comes in. And I think I really appreciate her apology here, because I think she said a lot of good things with, hey, this was my understanding and other people had a different understanding. And she's not saying they're wrong, she's not saying her wrong. It was a misunderstanding, which I can live with that.
Right, I can live with that too. What you got, Minka?
Are we gonna pull up the video of what she actually said?
Yeah,
because
I
can understand what she's saying based off of this, but I want to know what she actually. I don't even know what she actually said, but I can. If you asked me what, because the base of the question was like what the Holocaust was about. Race, I think, is you can segregate them based off of color, social standards, religion, ethnicity, disabilities. I understand what race is, but if you go into the question of what the Holocaust was really about, if you go into the history of Adolf Hitler's actual plan, it had to do with money. That's what it had to do with. And the Jewish community owned primarily the most of the businesses, and he was trying to find a way to gain popularity because Germany was having economical issues at that time. So by segregating specifically the Jewish community, which owned a lot of business, it first started off with taxing them a lot. It started increasing. Then by the time they were able to overtake the entire community, that's where their economic standard really rose. And that's why I kind of agree with what she's saying. That's why I want to know what the words were that she actually said based off of the question, because from where I'm standing, if that's how she answered the question, kind of like where I'm coming from of the actual history, if you do the investigation and you understand where or why that started, hate is hate, racism is racism, right? So it was one thing when he started it. It's a total other thing when the general population continued on with it as well. And then they started hating the Jewish community and calling them rats and all sorts of things, right? We've seen that with Black, Hispanic, every other culture, right? So I get that, but it's for me, it's kind of like, if she answered it based off of what she thought the Holocaust started off of, and she's more insightful and had some ability to go off of that, I just think it's another thing of like people have their fucking panties up in a bunch, because it's Whoopi Goldberg. Come on. It's Whoopi, bro. Like, did we not remember? Like, she used to be, what was it? One of the first movies she did was about she was a nun and she had to deal with racism. Like, who better to be able to explain this side than a Black woman representing a side that has been held back for so long? Like, it just don't make sense to me.
I get it. So you're asking for, pretty much more context, and I'll pull it up as we're checking anything out. Dude, you got anything before continue the video? All right, cool.
To me, it's the same. It's, again, like, just like I said, out of all people, you're really gonna call Whoopi Goldberg racist? That woman has, if you look at her character throughout history, since she's gained stardom and fame, it has been about empowerment. It has been about equality. It has been about mainly like doing the right thing. Are we all like dumb sometimes that say dumb things that we don't really realize what we're saying? Absolutely. But I don't think that what she said was taken out of. I think that what she said was taken out of context.
That little comment right there, give racist individuals that out. Like, oh man, I was in a heated moment. You goddamn son of a heated moment. What you just said earlier, you said sometimes we make mistakes and we say things out of
No, definitely not. That's not what I meant. Not in the heat of the moment, meaning just like she was explaining, like what she was seeing, she wasn't angry. She
No.
wasn't yelling, and I'm not excusing in any way, shape, or form any person that is angry and saying the N word or the S word or any of those racial slurs, because that's just racism. That does not excuse any ill behavior towards another human being, period.
Now,
Like,
my opinion, just what the stuff that she's conversating about, like I said, the original what she said, and even she repeated what she said in the original on The View. She pretty much, it was like, this is my opinion, this is how I feel. It wasn't no ill intent, it was no malice toward anything else. And then later on, and I'll show another clip where she gets pretty much, hey, I got the food for thought. Because again, I don't know everything. I hit up either you guys all the time. I have friends in the back corners and stuff like that, and I'll ask them questions. Hell, I just got, I'm gonna say politely, respectfully, a good friend of mine chewed me out because some other information came out for some stuff that I was doing research on, and she was like, "Hey, just goddamn it, Google it." You know what I'm saying? But I didn't get mad at the person. I just said, "Oh, thank you for reinforcing something either I already knew or I didn't know, but giving me the two that I already know of that's available for me so I can do the homework." So I think that's what it comes down to Whoopi. She didn't have the 100% of the knowledge. She, like I said, she probably misphrased something. That's how I'm taking it, and there's no ill intent. And so what you gotta do is, because you're making faces.
Yo, I agree.
Okay, cool.
We had a conversation earlier. I agree with her. Like,
yeah,
like how would you? She's explaining that she never said it was. She never said anything anti-Semitic, right? You know, I'm like, she didn't say anything bad about Jewish people. All she's saying is that this event had history as she saw it, wasn't about race. It was about human beings being evil toward other human beings. But this is I hate cancel culture, because if you disagree with somebody, you can cancel somebody. You just try to cancel somebody. Like, what you're saying is not politically correct. What you're saying is not what the majority of people agreed on what happened. Like you have to toe the societal line, or you're gonna have to pay the consequences. And I don't like that. Like, she had an opinion about something, because she's absolutely right. Because I never even saw that interview, and I said the same thing before we went live.
Yeah,
the exact same thing about the star and everything. You cannot distinguish a Jewish person from any other white person.
that if you go through it, I feel like she has a point, but she didn't know all the facts to back it up. And I'm telling you, like, if you go and do the actual history of how the Holocaust started, what Adolf Hitler did was he systematically replaced. All he did was he focused on one group that was going to help the economic social standard. He took all of their money, he took all of their belongings, he took all of their businesses. All you have to think is, all right, like, even in today's day and age, right? All of our economy is bad right now. If we were to redo the Holocaust, because a lot of the Jewish community has wealth and they have businesses, they're huge in the industry, they're huge in every industry, and we were and we had an Adolf Hitler that did the same thing, and we had him take their money, take their businesses, tax them like a mofo in the beginning just to start off our economy. We would see a great boom in our economy. Where is that money coming from? It's coming from a segregated portion of the community that has the most amount of wealth. That is all that he did. The rest of it was that he did propaganda. And I mean, I went to China, in Wuhan, China before. Fun fact, I was in Wuhan, China right before COVID. So like right when it started, I came back home, right? When
you was
I
patient
was
zero.
Huh?
You was patient zero.
Patient zero.
I was not. I was not. I did not.
Patient zero.
I did not get sick, but I know of people that got sick when we were there.
You a carrier.
That
Okay.
she knows of.
Just confirmed it. Thank you.
But anyways,
thank you.
But anyways, as I was saying, one of the things that happened is when I talked to the locals, and like I'm good at traveling. I got my apps, I got like translation, we figure it out, right? I met this Korean girl that had university out there, and when I talked, this is just one out of the many people that confirmed it. Before, it was a big event happening there, like a military world games. My ex was playing in one of them. And so before we had gotten there, it was nothing like it was. It was the streets were clean. You could still see trees that had just been potted that had like the sticks holding them up still. You had trash or the street sweepers that were like full on blasting the streets. They had gotten rid of all of the brothels, all of the massage parlors. You couldn't find a masseuse, period. Like it was, and then even on TV, when they would replay the games, they would only replay the games that had China winning. And like, even at the end of it, like they found out that like China had like cheated and had paid off a bunch of referees. It was a bunch of weird stuff, but none of that was actually promoted. We only knew because we were there, right? So it's the same thing where it's at the same time that they're taking advantage of one group of people, they're promoting all of this propaganda that they're rats, they're thieves, they have diseases, they're sickening, they're evil, they will eat your children, they're witches, they're all these things. And it's during a time where everybody is scared. So, I mean, look at what happened with the pandemic. It's everybody was terrified. What are we going to do next? Everybody took the toilet paper, everybody took the paper towels. You couldn't find food. It was gnarly. So when people are scared, you throw in that propaganda. You are taking at the same time doing the shady thing of taking people's livelihoods and killing them. But at all of a sudden, the people that are not targeted are doing better.
Yeah.
They're going to say, absolutely, this was right. And so that's the thing that I think Whoopi had an understanding that it did not have to do with race per se. Was it racist that it happened? 100%, because it segregated a group of people based off of religion, based off of their background. It segregated them. Absolutely, that is racism. But was the whole thing founded on that? No, it had to do with economics. And I think that she was missing that piece of information. Had she had that information, she could have more eloquently explained herself. And I don't think that this cancer, it is like cancer. It's a disease that starts spreading, that people think canceling someone is a solution. And I keep on seeing memes that I screenshot. It's like one that's really fitting is like, I saw one meme that was anybody that doesn't agree with me, you're a Nazi. Like it's kind of fitting at this point, because that is what it's like. Someone gets their panties in a bunch and they're all automatically like, you're a racist, you're anti-Semitic, you're this, you're that. And she's nothing. She's, like I said, if you go through Whoopi's history, you can take a look at what kind of person she is. And I really believe her when she says, like, out of all these things that people are saying about me really tear me up inside, because that's not what she is. I think it was taken out of context.
I don't know why, but I'm thinking about Hulk Hogan, because I remember it was a moment where they called him racist. He actually said the N-word, but it was from the Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
It was a moment where, correct me if I'm wrong, it was an article and something happened where his daughter got involved with somebody, and this individual did something to upset him. So he actually came out his mouth and called them the N-word, but he never, for as long as I knew, because I grew up watching this man and actually idolizing him. You know, I had the little Hulk Hogan, you know, the weightlifting and everything else growing up. Watched the cartoons, all that good stuff. Watched around WWF before it became WWE, and his character just never been, you know, racist. I never got the vibes from him. But when he made that one word, he was out. They took all his titles off the WWE.
And that's different.
Yeah.
That's the heat of the moment that you talked about earlier. Under no circumstances is that allowed. Even when I'm mad, I don't call a guy an A word. You know what I mean? And I don't expect someone to call me the B word if they're mad.
Apple? Bear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. Can you break down this question for me? Because I'm interested in what she's saying, but I can't understand it.
It says, what about a person is mixed race who is considered black but looks white? Do you believe that person is a white supremacist and a racist because of their skin color? That's what is about to I guess to Whoopi. it's an I at the end, not two E's. Was using the color of a person's skin to judge them.
I don't think so, because that's what she was. The example that she was
I think,
using.
and I think we're
Go
kind of reaching far fetched, because and I'm just gonna I'm because like I said, me and Prime know each other, so we kind of poke the bait. So I'm just saying maybe out of three, and Prime might be the only oddball, but I think everybody else here is predominantly mixed.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of reaching.
It is, because
Yeah, and
putting,
I guess I'm not following the question exactly.
Yeah.
Explain that to me like I'm in third grade.
Yeah.
I think what she's saying is, if a person is, let's say I'm half black and I'm half white, but because I look primarily white, it is assumed that I am a racist and a white supremacist because of my skin color.
Okay, so we're going.
So
So that's the case. We're going
like
about based on
white.
assumption.
It's based off of the stuff, and she's trying to parallel that with what Whoopi said when she was saying, if there's a white supremacist coming after us, I'm a run, but my friend may not run, and they may not come after them. They may only come after me.
Yeah,
I
but
think
when she said the friend though, she probably meant because even then it was either the Jews that was running, and some of the Jews was teamed up with the black person, which correct again, check me. When she said that, I took it as, hey, I'm with the Jew. We're both in it together. But the fact that my Jew friend looks white just by the color of my skin, that person's going to be safe momentarily, because it took work for the Nazis to figure out who's a Jew, who was who, to differentiate those two. But clearly you see I'm a black person. So if I see a Nazi coming toward the both of us, guess who's taking off first? Me.
right.
So I think that's the part she meant on that one. But as far as the white, half black and looking white.
Yes.
I think that's reaching, because I don't think anybody assumes someone's a white supremacist or a racist based off of skin color. I think it's usually assumed based off of the shit they say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who does that? Like, you just wake up one morning, just look at Mika. You Nazi. Where are you coming from, bro?
I don't know, man. Depending on what YouTube channels you find yourself in, if you don't have a lot of melanin in your skin, they just assume you're
you know what? Okay. I think you're absolutely right, because I shared that on last time we were talking. I went to a meeting, and this guy was like talking about, he was a black guy, and there were only two white girls in there, and I was the other one. I look white anyways, but he started off with like, a white devil is here. And like, me and her looked at each other, and I'm smiling and she's serious, and I'm like, you know what I mean? But that man just assumed that.
But this logic, since we're breaking it down, by this logic that she's acting, not saying Alice as a person you're ignorant, but just the question alone is just, that's the ignorant. Because if that's the case, then I can sit there and point the finger at Prime will say, because he shaved his hair, he a skinhead.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. I'm in the bill, right?
Yeah.
I look, therefore I am. Is that? That's a slippery slope, right? So
yeah, I'm gonna say it. That's retarded.
But yeah, that's why I was asking. I wasn't following the writing of that question, so that's why I was just asking to kind of break it down to me like I'm in third grade, because I'm not sure if that's.
I think it's kind of just
white,
seeking.
so I must be a white supremacist. That's a reach, right? So
I think that's just seeking, and it's just like trying to validate the same thing that's happening.
Hey, it made it worse. It made it worse too, Prime, because you got a white dog and black dog. So if you threw the white dog and just saw the black dog, that'd have been you'd have been good.
It's ebony and ivory up in here, baby. It's yin and yang.
Oh my god! But let me show this last little clip of her conversating and doing the policy. Is that it? Okay, all right, y'all can see that good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I stand corrected. Goldberg took that apology to millions on The View this morning.
I said something that I feel a responsibility for not leaving unexamined, because my words upset so many people, which was never my intention. And I understand why now.
She credited the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, for helping change her views.
Hitler's ideology, the Third Reich, was predicated on the idea that the Aryans, the Germans, were a, quote, master race, and the Jews were a subhuman race. It was a racialized anti-Semitism. Your platform, Whoopi, is so important, using it now to educate people to realize that anti-Semitism remains a clear and present danger.
Yes.
Neither Goldberg nor The View responded to NBC's request for comment. No stranger to controversial stances, a contrite Goldberg now vowing to think differently.
Words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected.
And Priscilla Thompson joins us now.
That's it. I mean, it was one article, Deuce, where
Man, they're just trying to get hyped.
yeah, it's up and down the platform. It was one where the Breakfast Club had got involved with the conversation. It was pretty short and sweet, where Charlamagne the God actually just said he felt like it was more to it for the network themselves to just suspend her, because even though she went and got, spoke to this guy, got re-educated and got some extra tools to understand a little bit better, he even himself said it wasn't not even a reason to even suspend her, because it's like it's a thought-based, even when we're talking, it's a thought-based conversation. We're breaking down, even down with Alice and her conversation, we're breaking down something, piecing it together just so we can have a better understanding. But now let's just say me by myself and nobody says anything, and I look at Alice's conversation, I might get a little bit triggered, I might get a little bit upset, and then later we all come together like, hey, this is what this is, or probably like, hey, break this down to me like I'm in third grade, because I don't know, or maybe I'm listening different, but you're saying it different. You know what I'm saying? So let's try to piece this together so we can understand a little bit better. And I think that's where Whoopi is coming from with this conversation, which is a good conversation to have.
And I think it's important, and I think what I want to remind myself to take away from this is I want to assume that people are not coming from a place of racism when they talk about things like this, right? I want to think that remind myself that either they're coming from a different perspective or a different background or a different education or a different understanding, and it's an opportunity to have a conversation, not cancel them, right? So I think Whoopi has her life through her perspective and her experiences and her understanding of the way the world works, right? And a Jewish person has their perspective. And instead of just like immediately canceling her, let's offer up a bigger conversation, because unless somebody's outright like racist and pointing the finger and you you're bad because your skin is this color or whatever, yeah, of course that should be canceled and not dealt with, whatever. But if it's hey, we're having a discussion, I'm trying to get better of an understanding, here's my perspective, then let's dive deeper into it, right? And I feel like so quickly we've become to this cancel culture of, oh, you stepped out of line and you're done now. And we're like not even offering an opportunity for here's why I said what I said. And I think that's important too.
Which is weird, because isn't The View supposed to be based around that? Like, let's have these opinions, let's have these discussions. Hell, they have like so many lawyers and counselors and therapists up there. Somebody should have been. Go ahead.
It's like what, 4 hosts of it's like 4 co-hosts.
Yeah, they had 6 last time, because the original lady that actually started, but Barbara Walters, she was the main one proprietor of all this. It's like, let's get into it. Let's have these tough conversations. That was our main focus.
You have women from different races, different social backgrounds, and everything. It's called The View. Like, hey, this is my view on it. So you can't get mad at her because this is how she sees the situation. Like, for instance, to me, I agree with Minka, which we had a conversation before about the economic factor and what happened with the Holocaust, which I said the same exact thing. So there's a lot of context that people like to ignore, because people like to create a narrative. And now, because Whoopi is not towing the line on the narrative, they want to cancel her. They want to put her place. And it's, I don't know, it's just now you're getting to a point where we cannot have the conversation. Like, we can't have a conversation about anything, because these conversations.
And I think that's why these platforms are becoming so much more relevant because of that. Because look at what Whoopi did. She does not have a freaking choice. The whole narrative that they create. Sorry, go ahead. I'm gonna.
No, no, no.
Oh no! I didn't want to cut you off.
I'm outspoken, so sometimes I have
Yeah.
to remind myself to shut the fuck up.
And it's super highlighted because go back and look at Whoopi's apology. She said, "And I will never talk about this again."
Boom. She's subliminal. It's look at the narrative that they created with I forgot what was he representing. I know that it's the something
Anti-defamation
Anti-defamation,
league. Yeah.
Yeah, the way that he's coming at her. And she's like, "Yep, yes, sir.
No, it's
I do what you say, sir." That's the narrative that they just recreated to subliminally put it in our minds. This is what happens when you speak out.
But
This is what happens when you don't agree.
She couldn't talk like that in Alabama. Just let y'all know.
You had background in marketing, right, and stuff like that, right? So like, focus on everybody's just focused on this one tiny bit. She said that Jewish is not a race, and that's what everybody's up in arms about. Look at what they're not saying. They're not saying all the other stuff she said was wrong. Not saying any of that. They're just saying, "Oh, you said this one part, so we're just going to focus on this one little 5-sentence line that you said, this one sentence, and then making it all about that. They're not making it about anything else."
Right.
I have an article from 2019 because the only reason I remembered that it wasn't about race and it was about economics is it's in one of those books, like the 48 Laws of Power or the Rich Dad Poor Dad. One of those like be a
Ooh,
bigger
girl, you
boss
smart.
books.
You real
I know.
smart, girl. You smart.
I read sometimes. Anyways, it's in one of those books where they oh god, I think it's the 48 Laws of Power. I swear it's one of those kind of books that it's like how to reach exponential amount of power over people. One of those master manipulative books. And it's even on the document series. You remember the docu-series on Netflix that they had about the worst tyrants of the entire world, where they did it on Adolf Hitler and they did it on the Chinese guy, Korean.
I don't think I've
Anybody
seen
know?
that.
Okay, well, they had a whole documentary on it, and one of the first things that they say when they're talking about Adolf Hitler is his strategy was on economics. It had nothing to do with race and why he targeted that specific culture. Then I'm even with this article, it's like the hidden history of the Holocaust is money. The Third Reich confiscated the money of the Jews under their control and replaced it with currencies meant to manipulate the population and eliminate any means of escape. Like it's just like I just keep seeing the same thing.
That is not. I said this earlier, but it's not the narrative.
Yeah,
I completely agree with you, but that is not the narrative of what the Holocaust became.
Right. But the problem is that they were asking like what was the Holocaust, and that's what she was trying to answer. And especially when she said the words of how can we explain this to children? How can we explain this to our children of what happened? Well, when we think of race, we think of like different colors, something that we can see. And she specifically said that was white on white. It was German on German. You could not see a difference. And that's the really relevant. Instead of shutting her up and canceling her and telling her, bad dog, you did wrong, the question should have been opened up. Then what was it about? Then how did it start? How do we explain what happened? Because the reality is it's just an evil situation that happened, and it did go upon racism, and it should be more of a conversation of like, how did a community, how did an entire country allow themselves to fall into such a deep trap and like a crazy narrative that one group of people was to blame for all of the problems?
I got it. I have my view on that answer, and that is Germany had just lost World War I, right? They had the worst economy in the world. They were a very poor country. Inflation was super high. Like like bread was like the Deutsche Mark was like $1,000. They wanted 1,000 Deutsche Mark for
Right.
a loaf of bread. It was crazy.
Well, and they had to pay for World War I, like
Right? Yeah, they all award that. You all award that to every Western nation on the planet. Like you are going to be in perpetual poverty for the foreseeable future. So now you get this guy who's charismatic. He's a master orator, and he comes around. And he's able to rally people and focus this because everybody's angry, everybody's desperate. He's able to focus all these negative emotions in one direction. People
Right.
just want people. It's a human thing. You know what I'm saying? When people are desperate, when people are down and they down bad,
Yeah.
they need somebody to blame. And the same thing happened in 2016. Same thing happened in 2016. People can't get jobs, wasn't getting hired, blah blah blah. You want to blame the Mexicans? We seen a movie about Day in the Life Without a Mexican. These people are not a threat to your job. I don't understand why you see preppy Wall Street types saying they're over here stealing our jobs. Listen, they're not taking those jobs. Now, if you was a construction worker or you was a day laborer or something like that, or you was picking fruit in Florida or something like that, sure. But guess what? Those are the jobs that nobody wants. Nobody
Yeah.
wants.
Well, and my question was more
You
of
should
like, my question was more not just like the rest of my statement was like, how did one entire country get manipulated so that we can learn how not to allow it to happen again? Because as you said, it's happening again. It is.
Because they were down and there was no. So this is the thing. You have to look at like when there's a power vacuum, right? So there was a vacuum. He was the first one, maybe not necessarily the first one, but he was the one that was able to fill that vacuum. And you know, he was loud. Third, but he was loud. He was what he was saying was like, you know, first of all, charisma. He was
inspirational. Yeah, he
inspirational.
gave them some sort of hope.
Yes.
But my question isn't that. Again, what I'm saying is, how do we learn from our past mistakes? Because history continues to repeat itself.
Oh Lord, that's a good question.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's we know how we got there. How can we like really like get to the bottom of it so that when it starts to happen again as a worldwide community, we can say, hey, it's happening over here. Hey, it's happening over here. Hey, it's happening over here. Because we all know how it ends.
Simple, honestly, it's really in times of like economic, like an economic downturn or whatever. Be careful with the finger point.
Yeah,
people are mad. People have nobody to blame, and it happens every time. It happened. It happened in 2016. It happened during war. It happened during before World War II, World War I, the whole rise of the Third Reich and stuff like that. And that's what happens when people get down and people get desperate. They need somebody to blame. And if you are the low person on the caste system or the low person on the totem pole, you are going to get crushed.
Right. But that's the question still remains, how can we learn from it and stop it?
Yeah, but that question you're asking me is pretty much like when if you're not in the woods and a tree falls, doesn't make a sound type deal. That's like there's like those type of little.
You're asking about how do we reprogram human nature? That's a big one, right?
It's reprogram human nature, but it's also like learning. It's just learning from our previous mistakes. So, like for example,
I got the answer.
No one has the answer. The question is to beg the question is to find the answer. No one's begging the question.
I got the answer.
Because instead we shut Whoopi Goldberg up. So just leave it there.
It can't be Skynet takes over, Angelus, because that.
God damn it! I was close. I was gonna say, why don't we all just go travel and get all the Infinity Stones and then snap our finger? How about that?
Yeah. Thanos was right. Is that what you're saying? Thanos was right.
Hey, that's the whole big thing going on now. Thanos made a lot of sense. Just
Thanos.
Yeah.
From the Marvel movies, he was the big bad guy that said the world is the universe has too many people. I gotta take out half of them because we're sucking up all the resources and all the people are gonna die anyway.
We are due. We're supposed to have some sort of like epidemic every like I think it's supposed to be like 2,000 no, it's more than that, like every like 10,000 years or something, and we haven't had one for so long.
It's funny you said that though, because then we shouldn't have those, because we have people like Mark Zuckerberg and all these people that are supposed to be creating all these extra sorts of fuels and energies and natural energies and all this stuff. So technically 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we're not supposed to have those problems.
Yeah, but there's also been an actual history about the fact that there's a free source of electricity that everyone can live without having to pay electricity, and we don't do that because someone's not winning. So it's you know what I mean? I think the power is really in the people. If people want to cancel Whoopi, she's going to get canceled. If they follow that narrative and they're still like not begging the correct questions and thinking for themselves, that's what's going to continue to happen. If they stop and they actually analyze it and use their own resonance to understand what's happening and beg the right questions and make the correct move to like find out more and seek more instead of watching like The Bachelorette. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
Lord.
think we'd get somewhere, but most people don't want to do that, and then they just go with the narrative that was created on Whoopi, and they're like, cancel her.
I gotta call my agent because I was just about to
not-
get on there now. God damn it.
It's cancel her because she didn't toe the line. But what you said about like her contribution to society and her contributions to the arts and stuff like that is the reason why she got a 2-week suspension instead of getting a lifetime cancellation like Mel Gibson.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, you can't but you can't compare the two. They tried to cancel some. Here's the thing. What I
You
have,
can't
I'm
compare the two?
born in. No, because there's a difference. I'm born and raised in LA, right? So I've seen all of it. What I've consistently seen is Whoopi is more on the other side where she has given back to the community. She's always made it about the people. She wants to do good, right?
True.
Mel Gibson, great actor, producer, all these things. And the most that he's done is more about donating money. There's no heart. The community, the people have not been able to see what he has done.
You're talking about Passion of the Christ?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's different than giving back from your community because what he did.
He had me choked up. When I saw that movie, he had me choked up. So I was like,
yeah,
I don't
but
think that has anything to do with the.
I still haven't seen it. I need to go watch it.
No,
don't. Y'all are tripping. What'd you say, Deuce?
I didn't see it. I was in high school when it came out, and I didn't go see it.
I saw it. It was a great movie. It was a great movie.
That's like 12 Years a Slave. Don't do it, Deuce.
Yeah, don't do it. I'm saying is that what happened to the money that he made for Passion of the Christ?
True.
Did he make donations? Did he give it back? Did he do anything for the community? No. So the difference of why you can't compare Whoopi Goldberg with Mel Gibson is because it's a white man that was trying to make money, and Whoopi Goldberg has more of a presence of trying to help her community.
No, but I get it, but his comparison is that Mel Gibson pretty much said something that was disrespectful to the Jewish community, like Whoopi allegedly said, and then that affected him in one way, so they canceled him for 20 years, like pretty much blacklisted him. And then now here's Whoopi allegedly do the same thing, and then here we go. Let's give her a slap on the wrist so she'll learn her lesson.
Keyword: learn her lesson.
Yes.
Sit down. Shut up.
What you got? Go ahead, Deuce.
Also too, you have to look like Mel context, right? Like you have to look at what led Mel Gibson to that point, right? Like what made him go on that like drunken tirade was because when he released Passions of Christ, there was a rise in anti-Semitic sentiment because everybody was blaming like Jewish people and stuff like that for the death of Jesus, stuff like that. Like this raised up a whole bunch of religious emotions. People don't talk about. Not supposed to talk about religion, but all this stuff started coming up. So I guess whatever was going on with him in his personal life, because you remember, he's in Hollywood, so people are in his ear, or his career, his livelihood is being affected now.
Like that Cali life.
He gets drunk. He starts saying. He says, "There's one thing releasing a movie that people took a certain way that you didn't mean or nothing like that, because you have plausible deniability." But then he got drunk on a DUI stop and said blatant anti-Semitic things. You know what I'm saying? And that could have been like, they was messing with him after the Passions of Christ. Like, I'm saying? A lot of people was trying to cancel him before cancel culture was a thing. But he said blatantly anti-Semitic things and he got canceled. Her, on the other hand, her stuff, that's what I'm trying to say. People are making they're making a mountain out of an anthill.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't say anything anti-Semitic. She just disagreed on what the core reason was.
Which is very clear. It was a disagreement on a thought.
Yes,
right. But listen. This apology.
A view, exactly. Correct word. A view.
But this apology that she made, I feel like it's forced, because if she doesn't make it, then she's officially canceled. But if where she was leading into in the actual interview, I pulled it up on my phone, was asking the question, like what, because it doesn't make sense to her. She was on the right track because it didn't make sense. But what happens if someone with that much power, with that many viewers, begs that question? And like you just stated, it was happening in 2016, which it'll probably still be happening right here in 2022. What happens if someone with that many views and that much power starts begging the correct questions, asking their viewers to think about the same things? So when it comes around, it's not going to work. So the powers that be don't allow that kind of thing. So it becomes a whole propaganda of like, she's a racist, she's anti-Semitic, she's all these things. When the reality is she's just challenging people to think for themselves. But the consequence of doing so is so severe. And I'm not like, I know, let me put it this way. I had a conversation with someone the other day and it was funny because we were laughing. It's like, you know how all the conspiracy theories that used to be conspiracy theories that actually turned out to be all like true. We got aliens, we've got chakras, we've got the FBI that released all, like, it wasn't even released, it was leaked first of all these like reports of like people are walking through walls and crazy stuff like that. Like, this is a real thing that's look at the reports, they come from the freaking FBI. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. Look at the freaking reports. They've been doing this for such a long time, and every time people start to speak up and say something, they get shut up. Because I have friends that are in the music industry that, because they are not Jewish, are not able to get into specific places that they need to get into. And if you really go down the rabbit hole of most of these artists, you'll find the same sense of community. Like, hey man,
do you have anything to say? Do you have anything to say, Pro? Because I know Deuce ready and he loaded, so I want to get Deuce on it. I want to get Deuce on it. You got anything to say?
And anything, like, redirect me here. Anything to say in response to which segment of that?
Whoopi, not the aliens and not the conspiracy theory crap.
Okay, because I was curious.
Yeah, we got to bring it back full circle, bro.
I feel like when she gets the opportunity to outline her whole stance, I listen to it much differently than a soundbite, right? Mm-hmm. And we're in the soundbite era, and I think it's kind of, I don't want to say it's sad, but it's upon us to go get the full story and listen to the whole statement, because anybody can be taken out of context with a soundbite, right? You could say something that was half of a sentence, somebody clips that, and Angelus is this bad man, look what he said. And it was like, the start of that was, I feel, or my thought about this is, and then you say your thought or whatever, and then that other part gets cut out, right? I mean, that's where we're at now. So, but I will say this, anytime that we come into these conversations about race or things like the Holocaust or some of these really powerful historical events, we have to be so careful. Like, we just have to be very careful with who we talk to, how we portray it, how we talk about it, because you can easily inadvertently cause a lot of pain for yourself.
Which will lead more.
So that would be my caution, is understand the environment that you're talking about it, and talk about it in such a way that there is no possible way it can be misconstrued as this person is a bad person.
Yeah.
Well said. And we're gonna wrap it up from there. So Deuce, Minka, do we have any final words?
Deuce, you want to go? I went.
I always want to go last.
I do.
Hey, but last time when Deuce had like some good cherry gems, and he was like, "Yeah, that's the end of the day," you know, what the message says. So maybe Deuce should go last because I feel like he earned that.
Whatever you want, Deuce. Would you like me to go first?
No, I know. I'm being an asshole. I'm being a jerk.
No, go ahead. Oh, okay, yeah, you want me to go first. Okay. I will say at the end of the day, like I said in the very beginning, was the Holocaust it did have to do with race, and it was racist. It was a racist act against a specific race, and there's nothing that anyone can say that was not true, right? In pertaining to Whoopi, I think what she was trying to convey was something else and trying to ask the right questions, and I think it was completely taken out of context, and I don't think she should have the ramifications that she's having, because she was asking the right questions. She was trying to get people to think, and I think it's just cancel culture at its finest.
Well
That's
said.
it.
Deuce?
100% agree with Mika. I got nothing else other than that.
What?
Love you, my man. My man. Yo, on that note, I appreciate y'all guys again. Thank you, Primal, for Primal Studies YouTube channel. Definitely check them out every time. I'm guessing it's Sundays.
You got it, man. 9 p.m. Central on Sundays, and then a few other days sprinkled in here and there. Come check it out. It's Primal
Okay,
stuff.
cool. Of course, and we're gonna always check them out. Just want to do a special slam on the side curve. Shout out to Duke of Dawn. Also appreciate you, Deuce, for always joining in and supporting. Again, also my wifey, Minka. So guys, again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like and comment. I don't care if it's a thumbs up, a thumbs down. The algorithm is crazy. All the links is below for Spotify. If you feel like you can't watch and drive at the same time, you can hear us out on Spotify, Instagram, emails, all that stuff. If you have any suggestions, comments, or concerns for bringing to the table, we will discuss it. And we do every Saturday at 7 p.m. Anything in between what we're doing now will be just a bonus surprise for you guys until it's very consistent. So thank you again. Everybody say bye-bye.